Aloha mai kākou. Welcome to this special conversation presented by Huakaʻi ʻIke ʻAina at the University of Hawaiʻi, West Oʻahu. My name is Ioane, and today we're honored to be joined by an amazing kumu, practitioner, and visionary, kumu Manulani Meyer. Her work has served to guide many to better understand ʻIke kupuna and ancestral knowledge that continues to shape our futures. During this conversation, we'll explore her insights on ʻAina-based projects, the power of storytelling, and how Indigenous frameworks can guide us toward deeper relationships with place, people, and purpose. Whether you're a student, educator, or community member, we hope this dialogue will help inspire you to think about what we learn, teach, and engage with in our world.
Right on. Yay.
Welcome, Kumu.
Aloha mai.
Aloha mai. Can you share a little bit of your origins, your Moʻokūʻauhau, where you came from, and how that grounds you in work that you're doing today?
Absolutely. O Manulani Aluli Meyer ko inoa. Ke one hanau o Moʻokape o me kailua a me hilo paleku. My name is Manu. I'm the fifth daughter of Emma Aluli and Harry Meyer, who grew up on the shores of Mokapu and Kailua and along Hilo Paleku on Hawaii Island. My family is completely dedicated to ʻIke kupuna, as evidenced in our work, Emmett's work in Kaho'olave, Yuki's work in law, my sister's work in native books, Namea Hawaii and Meli's art. My family is dedicated to bringing cultural practices alive and to refinding ourselves in this modern society as contemporary Hawaiians in service of our lahui and our ʻAina.
Beautiful. Mahalo. Could you share with us like some of the kupuna or mentors that sort of shaped this beginning for you and how this has moved?
I've had plenty. I've had so much guidance in my life, and one of them is David Singh. He was one of my favorite mentors. He hired me at UH West Oʻahu, no, UH Hilo in 2000, was in 1985, 86. And then I've been mentored by Hale Makua, Auntie Lynette Paglinawan, Auntie Abby Napeahi, even Auntie Malia Craver has had her hand, and also Uncle Alvin Shim, Pono's dad, in his you know, transnational discussion of what aloha is. I've learned from Uncle Alvin.
Beautiful. What an amazing group of people.
It's been a really, yeah, it has been.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I was wondering, you know, we had this conversation prior to this. I was wondering if you could share a little bit for those who aren't familiar. How would you explain holographic epistemology?
You leaped into the deep end,
I have to go there
Oh my gosh, well let's build a scaffold to the idea of epistemology. It's, people have made fun of that word, but actually it means the philosophy of knowledge. And it asks the questions, what's the difference between mana'o'io, mana'olana, and aloha? And that's the difference between knowing, knowledge, and aloha. And it's very, very knowing, knowledge, and understanding. So when I first started discussing this was around 2000. About 25 years ago. And it was because my graduate professor in philosophy called Hawaiian thinking anti-intellectual. And I had to ask myself, what does she mean here? Are we anti-intellectual? Intellectualism is the belief that all of our knowledge comes from our empirical sources, and that means only our senses. The physical, the sense of touch, taste, seeing, smelling, and hearing. Does all your knowledge come from only 5 empirical sources? Yes or no? No. I mean, like, no. I get lots of ʻIke from my dreams.
Right.
I get ʻIke from intuition. To talk about that is to enter into the debate of a lifetime between, they always like to pit it against science and religion. It's really not that obvious. It's so nuanced in our culture and how we respect ho'ailona, the portents that we see daily, how we think about our siblings and dreams, how we behave with each other. It is so much deeper than simply our 5 senses.
Yeah.
So that discussion is called epistemology. And so I started off years ago talking about Hawaiian epistemology, Hawaiian intelligence, Hawaiian thinking, as I learned it from my own life and from 25 mentors. You know, from Auntie Lynette and Uncle ʻIke, Auntie Gladys Brand, Auntie Poor, and Ed Kanahele gave me evidence to a super fantastic, grounded understanding of knowledge that is not based on text, but on context. Mm-hmm. And so that just blew my heart open to what Hawaiian intelligence is. And so I'd be talking about that throughout the world, and everyone would go, "Thank you so much, Dr. Meyer, but we're not Hawaiian." So they thought it didn't relate to them. So then I said, then we evolved into indigenous epistemology, because I wanted to include more. And people would go, "Thank you, Dr. Meyer, but we're not indigenous." But this knowledge is centered about love of land and service to people. Why aren't you not getting it? So now we changed it to holographic epistemology, native common sense, so that everyone feels included in this discussion of a spiritual reality to our cosmos. Ta-da! That's simple.
Great. That's, I mean, simple, but also really complex.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, I like that, you know, the way you talk about it, like there's no compartmentalizing all these things. They work together as a whole, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's...
The wholeness of life is what we're putting forward as Pacifica scholars. I came back from Fiji last week. We just came back from the whole of life philosophy, philosophical competency course that we're teaching to hundreds of our beloved Tuvaluans, Fijians, Samoans, Tongans. We really get it as an island people that knowledge isn't simply text. And the regurgitation of that text, oh my gosh, knowledge is contextual, knowledge is situational, knowledge is incremental as gained by experience and DNA disposition. And so these types of expressions of knowledge become native common sense when we talk about it in the trilogy of the physical, mental, and spiritual realms. See, people only want to talk about it in the dual and the non-dual, in the physical and the mental realms. But we are absolutely ready and capable to include the spiritual. And the spiritual we're now using as synonyms to quantum, transspatial, transtemporal. Spiritual is not a synonym for religion. When people say you can't talk about religion, I'm not.
Right.
We never. Religion is the bureaucracy of spirituality. We're talking about maturing the positivist, rationalist only view of the planet we're maturing it into something beyond that. And now it's time to collaborate radically with others with that knowing.
Yeah, and so in the collaboration with others, you mentioned you recently were traveling. What were some of the things that you were introduced to on?
Oh, you know, I learn so much every single time I go there.
Yeah.
The main idea that I got from this time is the idea of mutual contradiction. And in mutual contradiction, that's the form, but mutual emergence is the essence. So we are struggling in the world because we don't see the capacity the honoring of what difference really implies. Difference is what we have in common. So how does that equate to our evolution? Oh my gosh, it does.
Yeah.
Because all you gotta know is what you're good at and how we can adjust and what we can do together. And then I'll stop colonizing you and people will stop colonizing me on what I don't do well. You know what I mean? Right. I know what I can offer Oʻahu and Hawaii. And do you know what you can offer? Yeah.
Right. That's that's the question, right?
Yeah, that's the question.
So that makes me think of, I wanted to ask you, we've talked about this a little bit before, but I love when you explain simultaneity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, simultaneity, it's a bit of a we're trying to simplify complex ideas because it's an old idea. As you sow, so shall you reap. Aloha aku, aloha mai. It's not a TikTok. It's you as you give. Like kokua aku, kokua mai. The gift is in the giving. And so the simultaneity is you're not waiting for a response.
Right.
So simultaneity is an energetic field of expansion that happens by your own accord, by the accord of energy that is more dense than matter. It's because consciousness is that. And so simultaneity is about awareness, that consciousness is more fundamental than matter, so that every thought you make, every idea you possess, every expression you give to your siblings and your partner, if it's about aloha, aloha is responded to. If it's about anger, then anger begets anger. So simultaneity is it's a post-quantum word, but it's also a spiritual word, that as you sow, so shall you reap.
And so how would you relate that, or I guess differentiate that from reciprocity?
You know, reciprocity, it's a nuanced.
Right.
It's nuanced, and it's not a judgment against reciprocity. The idea of reciprocity, the idea of simultaneity is just a little bit more nuanced with, I don't expect it from you. But it collapsed in Hawaii because we didn't share the same culture when people came here, and they just go, oh, the Hawaiians, they just love giving to us. But you know, when we have a shared culture, you recognize that when I give to you, because sharing is our economy, we had a sharing economy. We didn't barter, we shared. I didn't give you 4 ulu for your 2 moi. You know what I mean? We never counted, we shared. And in that sharing, that's the energy of aloha. So the word that Pulama Collier, my friend from Maui, has given us as a synonym for Hawaiian intelligibility is Mōʻike aloha. Mōʻike, it's like Hoʻike but with a mo'o. It has a genesis within aloha. So if the genesis of our knowledge is aloha, then I'm not going to say, hey brah, how come you never gave me?
Right.
It's not like that.
Yeah, I think simultaneity to me, like it feels less transactional.
Absolutely.
In that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes we want a transaction, please.
Right.
Absolutely. But if our relationships are going to evolve, it's going to have to be a quality of how we do it.
And depending on the relationships.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. So I think, I was curious, like, how would you connect that with your work you're doing with Niu Now and food systems work?
Absolutely. It's the same differently. Niu Now is a movement of beloved people that are interested in rejuvenating our understanding and relationship with the coconut tree. And it's led by Indrajit Gunasekara, who has been a beloved friend and mentor in this. He has 3,000 years of experience with ʻIke Niu, with coconut knowledge, in his native town, country of Sri Lanka, southern Sri Lanka. He's been in Hawaii for 20 years, and spending time with Indrajit, just 5 minutes with Indrajit will tell you how much we are learning here in Hawaii because of his kindnesses. So he's dedicated to bringing back our awareness of the tree of life, because on one side, it's ornamental liability, which is people see the coconut tree, and the other side, it's a tree of life. So we are wanting to have a relationship with this idea. And so in doing so, C.R.B, we're addressing what those issues are, we're addressing what the issues of liability are, and mostly we're addressing our own ignorance around the topic of coconuts.
Right. How have you seen this, the work with Niu Now bringing people together in community? It's been
a miracle. We'll take Kūkaniloko as an example.
Sure.
Kūkaniloko began because the Office of Hawaiian Affairs was able to listen to Indrajit, and Lori and the gang absolutely heard that a place like that must have had cultural agroforests all around it, of food, to maintain that sense of vibrant culture. And so the coconuts must have been there.
Right.
Must have been there in a big way, as in ulu, as in our mai'a, as in our other food trees. So we planted, they were allowed us to plant 108 coconut trees, 16 varieties. And we planted it in a polymotu pattern so that it could be makuahine niu, it could be good, true to the mother. So 3, so we had 16 different varieties, all in a polymotu pattern that we learned from Tahiti. And we go once a year, every first Saturday, and as you know, because you've been there, you are our host, Ioane. So your hosting is how and why we come, because we're developing that relationship with the people in the kia'i of Kūkaniloko. But the first, it's our makahiki presence. It's a makahiki honoring the first Saturday of November every year, and we're on our 5th one this coming makahiki season.
Yep, check it out.
First Saturday.
Be on the lookout. And then quick shout out to Lori Walker from ʻOhana
Thank you, Lori.
for pushing all that
Forever.
stuff.
That's the makahiki, yay!
Yeah, and and that was, I mean, I would say that's the first major food movement that's been in that space, since it was, being overutilized by the plantations, and so it's a really special thing. Watching
it feels
the new,
special, Ioane.
Yeah.
We're doing it collectively.
Right.
We can't do things by ourselves.
Yeah.
So the sacrifices and the energy that Lori and Noah Lincoln has done, just
Noah.
the energy that you and Kahea have done, and even Kukui of Ma'o Farms has been present with us with Kaui.
Yeah.
It's been a collective.
Oh yeah, I mean it's connecting Waianae Kai with Waianae Uka and bringing all these different people and all this awareness in the space, and yeah.
And that's the hologram.
Yeah.
That's the physical, mental, and spiritual. See, when I'm with Indrajit, the love of coconuts is a spiritual energy, and it feels like it expands by its own goodness.
Yeah. Well, I want to mahalo you too, because you're so important in keeping that going. And
I'm just a cheerleader.
I mean, I think that's the most important thing, and everybody gets so much out of all of your wisdom when we're out there doing the work, and it just seems like so much comes to us and comes through you in that space. So
Mahalo
just always want to mahalo you for that. Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment too and shift gears and talk about Ho'opono.
Okay.
If you can kind of introduce what that is.
Well, it all started with Lihau Collier and Celia Bardwell-Jones, a professor at UH Hilo, sent Lihau to me as a potential class, philosophy class, and she said, Manu, can you work with Lihau and do anything you want? So Lihau chose to respond to chapters of my writings in the last 20 years. And so it was her interest and how she evaluated her knowing in the ʻIke papakolu kind of way. She came into an understanding of it through the literal, the metaphoric, and her own esoteric understanding of the things that I used to write. I've written for the last 20 years. So this book is a compilation of 20 years of published writings and Lihau's comments, and it's also contextualized within 3 beloved introductions into these sections. Pulama Collier sets the tone in the first by introducing why Hawaiian became indigenous, became holographic, and she really gets the hologram. Then my sister Miley writes the introduction of like 8 chapters that deal with my own understanding, imaginations of what Hawaiian intelligence is. And then my wife, Nahiraka Mason, does the last chapter of my 6 years in Aotearoa and what I learned from Maori. So I have those. So it's such a fun read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're just gonna love it, Ioane, because
I can't wait.
It was joyful to birth.
And yeah, thank you for blessing me with this copy.
Yeah.
And you have,
Really.
and it's going to be available at.
It's available at Native Books.
Native Books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
In Chinatown.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I can't wait. We're going to go this Saturday.
Get ready.
It's going to be awesome. I was wondering, thinking about being a kumu and having all of this understanding, having all of this knowledge and passing this along, what kind of guidance would you offer young students who are trying to navigate this space where we find this like push and pull from, indigenous thinking, Western scientific thinking?
That's a great question. I want to actually really talk to people here, because what's happening now is the world is in there's extremes. There's people think they're right, and then somebody else has got to be wrong. That's the dual universe. We're heading into non-dual, which is asking the question of that person you can't get along with, like, what do you mean by that? And then you find out more things. And then the third way that we want to birth into the world as practitioners of ʻIke kupuna, of our elders' knowledge, is the idea of the spiritual the spiritual capacity of the world, and that is aloha. When you really centralize the two i'ini, the two nako of Hawaiian intelligence, it's aloha, and so it's really real. Aloha is the elemental driving force of our collective evolution. It really is. It's not like, aloha termite, drink aloha, aloha insurance. That's their thing. Our thing is to understand what it means. So that's what I learned by all this study of Hawaiian philosophy, is ultimately aloha is our genesis of our intelligence. And you know, if you really know that, then why wouldn't I embody that? I mean, so what I would tell you, I would tell everybody is learn to love who you are, no matter what it is. Learn to love who you are, forgive others constantly, but forgive yourself totally, and then they can keep growing. So Mōʻike aloha is our term for Hawaiian intelligence, and that is the genesis of our intelligence is loving. That's changed my life.
Right, and it
You know what I
seems so
mean?
simple, but it's
not.
It's not.
It's not.
Well, so, and I'm curious of your opinion on the flip side of that. So there's a student perspective, but how have you seen universities shape over the years? You know, I mean, you've been in the institution and watched the way it's changed, and what are your thoughts on that?
You know, gosh, I could just hearken to Kūkanilokou's encouragement. She's mentored me for years, that Kū. You know, systems are collapsing everywhere. They're collapsing because they don't have the love of land and the service to people at the center. If you don't have the love of land and the service to people at the center, that's not where the mo'o lives. That's not where continuity lives. And so universities, wow, you know what I mean? They are not evolving. So they're not evolving. And so the collapse is, I can see it happening everywhere. And so the fear, I've even have faculty members that say that students who use artificial intelligence, they're cheating. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Like, wow. So the evolution of our lives, AI is quite not a tool, it's a thinking companion. I'm so excited because it portends our imminent evolution. AI is going to be AI because we are the progenitor, we are the birthers of that, but it's us that we're going to evolve.
Right, and yeah, and it's interesting to see, you know, there's no embracing of adaptation with that.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna, you know,
Either
it's gonna be
the downfall.
Yeah, the downfall, and instead like, no, this is what we do.
This is what we do.
We kilo environment, and we see how it's moving, and we go,
and
you
we
know,
adapt.
Yeah.
What I learned in Fiji, which was a wonderful way of expressing, we want to modernize, but we don't want to westernize. So that by itself helped me understand that we are modernizing in our thinking by bringing our ancient understanding, but westernizing is still polemic. You either have to argue your point, defend your thesis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we want to help America to evolve. I don't want to be bludgeoned to death by their mediocrity.
Well, yeah, and that makes me think, what are other folks doing too when you're traveling? Like, what is the in indigenous communities in different places, how are they interacting with AI like that?
They are stepping forward slowly. First you got to have electricity and internet.
Right.
But they actually honor the idea of modernizing without westernizing. So they know where the knowledge is in their villages, and we're talking deep culture in Fiji and Tonga. And they know that the enhancement of their understanding could be more coherent when they ask better questions. So when you ask better questions, you ask the right questions in AI, you get a powerful response. People have been using indigenous epistemology to improve brain research. And so they send me these AI searches, and I'm blown away. If you use indigenous intelligence in modern systems, you're going to get the fullness of brain research, not just the linear rational side. You're going to get it all.
Right.
Yeah, and that all is what we're hungry for meaning. We're hungry for shared purpose.
Yeah, and I think it's important to be there while it's evolving.
We are.
Right, and that's the way that you can kind of shape it to be, you know, more conducive to have the things
to serve the needs of the people. That's why Hawaii is going to be pivotal in being of service to a worldwide awakening.
Yeah.
Because aloha is not our philosophy, it's not our religion, it's our culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's our culture.
Right.
It really is, and you know, if people don't feel it, it's because you're not giving it. So that's the discipline.
Right.
That's in my life.
And that's like right back to that simultaneity.
Right back to simultaneity. There it is.
I love that. Yeah, I think I was wondering what you were thinking about, like what's giving you hope right now? Like we see a lot of things, you know, I know working with coconut and having C.R.B come in really was like a devastating blow.
It's hard.
But nobody's backing down.
No. You know why? Because me and Interjet, you know, he was depressed for 6 months. It was heavy. And then he said, Auntie, I'm dedicated to planting twice as much.
Yeah.
So if they're going to get 50% of our coconuts, we're going to plant, you know, 1,000, and they're going to eat 500. We're going to plant 1,000 more. And then we're all going to clean up our backyard so that there's no mulch and that we can keep ourselves. We're all going to be cleaner farmers now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We're all going to be aware of what we're going to take down the pheromone traps that don't really trap them, but they're counting them, but they call them. So we need better science and better ʻIke, indigenous knowledge around this issue. We need to talk to each other.
Yeah, and how do you think that work has been influencing, you know, the state and different
It's slow,
officials?
but I really don't want to think about the state because they're doing their best. But you have to include us in this discussion. And you know what they are?
Yeah.
But now we're asking for the people that really know what they're doing. And those are Papua New Guineans. Those are the people in the Pacific that have had this for 50, 60, 100 years. And now it's morphed into like a super bug. You know, it's like the worst ever. We have the worst. And so we need the best on this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not simply to inoculate the trees.
Right. Yeah. And well, I think you got the great start for the best people. I mean, just watching Indrajit get, you know, into those spaces, guys like Jesse,
Roland Bordeaux, the expert of coconut knowledge, is here. Last night, and he's here for 2 weeks to help us develop how to take care of uluniu, our coconut groves. And they're starting in Ka'akepa over in Puna, with a grove there that's over about 60 years old.
Beautiful. Well, we're just about winding down, unfortunately.
Nice.
I feel like I could talk to you for hours and
Me too,
have a million questions. So
Me too.
hopefully, if you're willing, we can have you back sometime.
Love to.
But I really just wanted to mahalo you again for taking the time to do this. It means a lot. It's always really special having a conversation with you.
Aloha, ʻikuʻoha,
Yeah.
aloha.
Mahalo nui ʻai.
That was impressive. You did that perfectly. Ooh, sorry.